Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Actors Take podcast. Talked about it a few days ago about a new change in the forum, right? So, um, got a few things happening this week, right? First of all, good morning to you all, and Merry Christmas. And for those who don't celebrate Christmas, Happy Holidays. So, few things have been happening. First of all, how's the movie world going on out there, right? Um, we got actually a couple movies actually coming out this holidays, right? We have the new Spider-Man. Who's excited for Spider-Man? Who's excited for the Matrix? Oh God, I hope that movie's good. Um, and then we had like what do we have? We had some holiday thing, some show, the Santa Inc. show that had happened, and I unfortunately took the time to watch that. Yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. So, what's been going on with me? So, I think in one of my other videos, I did talk about how I haven't been doing a lot of reviews lately, and most of it has been because I think I talked about like in my update video. I was moving and trying to get a new studio, and all that just kind of went to shit. Still ongoing though. We're still looking. We actually have some new things happening in the mix. We have a new lender to kind of help us out and stuff, and things are kind of looking up and up. So pretty excited for that. However, one of the other reasons why I haven't been doing a lot of reviews is because I usually like to go in to receive the full experience. By that I mean like going to the theater. Lately, since the pandemic has happened, which I think is when everything kind of started to slow on my end as far as the reviews went. Things were kind of put on pause. When things started to go on the up and up, I was well, we were privy to the streaming stuff. Like most of the movies were going to start going on streaming, like Disney Plus and HBO Max, and a lot of movies started happening on Netflix too. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of watching a huge blockbuster on my couch. You know what I mean? Like I tend to like to enjoy the experience the way the directors have meant it for the audience, and I didn't feel like it was right for me to review a movie like that on the couch. And to be honest with you, sometimes a movie doesn't resonate with me the way I think it should when I'm on the couch. I can watch a movie that's fantastic and just be not into it as much as I wanted to because I'm in my own space. I got a lot of things going on. I got a toddler running around. And when I'm watching a movie for the first time, say on HBO Max, and I have to pause it and rewind it, and it just kind of it doesn't feel like the experience that I would want for me to give you a good review. Not to mention it kind of ruins my take on it, when I'm doing all of that. So that's one of the main reasons why I haven't been doing a lot of reviews because I haven't been going to the theater because I couldn't go to the theater. Now that it's kind of opened up a little bit, I'm able to go to the theater. It's just a lot of time, time that I need to have to actually do that kind of stuff. Like when I saw Dune in the theater, and my review on that is going to be, amazing because the movie was damn good. And I can only imagine how it would have been had I just sat on the couch, because that movie is very cerebral, so it has a lot of things in it that you kind of have to pay attention to. And on first showing, I was just floored. And I can just imagine had I just seen it on the couch with my daughter in my face, I probably would have hated that shit. Would have been like, I don't know what Dune is about. I don't get this movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot of things that you have to um, set up for to enjoy an experience like that. And my God, that movie I'm just so glad I went to the theater for that. And a couple other movies that I did go. I went to see movies for in the theater. Like I saw Halloween Kills and I saw No Time to Die. We'll get into those when my reviews come out. But I haven't been going to the theater like that because a lot of these movies are just coming out on streaming and the delays and stuff like that. But I'm glad that I'm starting to show up for the theaters a lot more and able to see these movies and review them. And those will be up frankly soon. Uh, and as you guys know, as you guys already know, I'm an actor as well, so I have been busy. I just finished up a play this holiday, uh, and we have like a couple more showings in a couple weeks for that to like kind of close it out, and producing stuff. So yeah, yeah, I've been busy this last quarter of 2021. So yeah, um, but speaking of movies, since this is a movie channel, um, I wonder what you guys think about Spider-Man. Right, Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm actually extremely excited for Spider-Man No Way Home. I think this might be the best Spider-Man that's come out in what 20 years since the last one came out. Since no, not. I mean, the last good Spider-Man movie that I saw was Spider-Man 2. Wasn't really a fan of the Amazing Spider-Mans like at all, and Homecoming was cool. Um, and then No Way Far From Home was dope. Was dope. Um, and No Way Home seems to just go balls out with everything, like the multiverse and stuff like that. And we've been hearing rumors of some appearances, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm trying to stay away from all the trailers and all the rumors because there's a lot going on, and I think Hollywood is even noticing that. Okay, too many people are like talking about this movie, and we don't want to ruin it for people. So let's just not show them everything until the movie comes out, and I think that makes sense. But this is what my sort of concern is. Um, I'm concerned about the lasting effect of the legacy of this new trilogy of Spider-Man movies. I mean, like the Homecoming trilogy, mostly because of the iterations it has with the MCU catalog. What I mean by that is, like, take the Raimi trilogy, like Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, like with Tobey Maguire and all that kind of stuff. When the first Spider-Man came out, it was unlike anything we've ever seen. I mean, we've had like X-Men movies and stuff like that, but Spider-Man was something that was it broke a lot of ground, and just set precedent to what was to come. And one of the things that I liked about it the most, having watched all three and grown up on it and stuff, what I realized is that it really is its own thing. It really brought its own thing to the table. It really is its own beast. And not to mention, you have Raimi, who is just amazing as a director. All of his style of directing and just his vision for it, all of that can be tied into those movies as its own thing. And you can see all of the freedom that he was able to do with those movies. Now, granted, not all of them were good. Spider-Man 3 gets a lot of flack. I think more than it deserves to. But if I'm just being frank with you, the Spider-Man trilogy was amazing, and I think when it comes up in conversations of like Marvel movies and superhero movies and stuff like that, it's I think we're able to take that as its separate entity and say this is the greatest Spider-Man movie of all time. And what I find myself in conflict mostly because of the the connection that it has with the other MCU films. If you guys know what I mean, like take the first movie for instance. Movie was about Peter Parker and his thing with the Vulture. Great, but it's it has Iron Man kind of dipping in and out, and I guess that's cool because they were still kind of setting up for the Avengers and stuff like that. But it's like I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. Like when Civil War happened, like the Captain American movies. Like I think there's a reason why Captain America: Winter Soldier is is known as like the best Captain America movie of all time because that was purely solely about Captain America. That was its own separate movie. That was its own, like that solo the solo movie of the Captain America character, was done, true and true. Yeah, they had Easter eggs in there and stuff like that, but ultimately it was solely about Captain America. And when Civil War happened, I I did find myself enjoying Civil War a lot more. However, even though they did a good job with showing, putting Captain America at the forefront of that movie, Civil War felt like an Avengers movie. But I had a lot of fun with that. Like Black Panther was awesome, and that there's just that little clash between all the superheroes. It was dope, but it felt more like an Avengers movie instead of a Captain America movie. But they did a good job with like balancing it all. But still, it was like I think there's a reason why people enjoy Winter Soldier more, or they hold Winter Soldier here and Civil War like kind of here, like kind of there. You know what I mean? Because it's MCU all over the place with Civil War and Winter Soldier. It takes its time with just showing Steve Rogers and his conflicts and leaving kind of everything else in the back burner because this is his movie. With the Spider-Man movies, with the Spider-Man trilogy, the Homecoming trilogy, I don't think Peter Parker really in this version, like Tom Holland's Peter Parker, I don't think he solely had a movie with just him kind of going through shit. I mean, Homecoming, he kind of had that, but it was mostly rooted with, or it just kept on involving the influence of Iron Man. And yeah, you can say, well, it's because he was trying to learn to do it. It's like, that's not my point. Spider-Man, from the way I grew up, learned all this stuff on his own. And I still enjoy the movies. It's just, I can't find myself liking Homecoming more than Spider-Man 1, directed by Sam Raimi, because, that's solely about Peter Parker's journey and Spider-Man's journey throughout that whole thing. Homecoming, it's about his journey, but with the help of Iron Man. And I can't find myself, seeing this solo film as a true solo movie on Spider-Man because Iron Man is right there. It's the Iron Man Spider-Man show, but I still enjoyed the movie. Spider-Man Far From Home, they really did try to, keep it solely on him for the majority of it all. But then when you have Nick Fury kind of coming in there and, well, let me be fair. Far From Home, they did try to keep it on him. And I think that was cool. I think that was cool for the most part. Did I enjoy it as much as Spider-Man Homecoming? Not really, but even still, I think that's safe to say that was as solo as it can. It's just I think Happy was a little bit too involved with that. I think Happy and Iron Man's team. You got Nick Fury and Happy kind of all in there, and it's like you just let Peter Parker just do his thing without bringing characters from the MCU in this thing, and you know what I mean. But I still enjoyed the movie. Now, No Way Home, obviously, we all know the rumors, whether they're true or not. I don't care. The thing of it is that it's still closely tied to the MCU, especially when you're involving characters like Doctor Strange. It's like, bruh. Now, look, I don't have a problem with what they're trying to do with it. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be probably one of the best Spider-Man movies I've ever seen. But like I said before, I find myself in conflict in calling it a Spider-Man movie because it's it's still tied to the Avengers in some kind of way. I mean, Doctor Strange plays a huge role in this movie throughout the entire film, as far as the trailers show us. So it's not like Spider-Man is going to be kind of I mean, he's going to have his journey and stuff. But my concern is that when this is all one and done, I'm curious about how the Homecoming trilogy is going to um, draw out its legacy in contrast with Raimi's trilogy. Because the characters of Peter Parker, these two characters of Peter Parker are vastly different. But I find myself enjoying the ride of Tobey Maguire's more than I did with Tom Holland. I still think Tom Holland is a better version of Peter Parker and all that kind of stuff. But he's just so tied closely to the MCU, and if everything that we're seeing is true as far as these rumors go for No Way Home, I can't I feel like it's still gonna feel like an Avengers movie because they're hiding a lot of secrets, and I'm pretty sure that the rumors of like Tom and not Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, if those rumors are true, okay, fine. But I know the formula in which Marvel kind of does now when it comes to the TV shows and movies. They're gonna have huge Easter eggs, and I haven't been watching their shows on Disney Plus, but I know that they are introducing a lot of stuff to intertwine it all for the climax of this new phase that they're doing. And if this movie is going to have a lot of those Easter eggs and a lot of those, MCU cameos and all that kind of stuff, that's great. But I'd be lying if I said I would feel the same way as the way I felt about Civil War. Like, it's going to feel like an Avengers movie and not a Captain America movie. This is going to feel like an Avengers movie and not like a Spider-Man movie. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I just had it on my mind. Like, I'm curious about how this is going to go down in history. Like, what's the best Spider-Man trilogy of all time? Is it the Homecoming trilogy or the Sam Raimi trilogy? And some people might say it's the Homecoming trilogy just because Kevin Feige has been killing it. And the MCU's legacy, with 10 years of just nonstop awesomeness. It's like, how can we compete with that? You know, but it's like it's I don't know. It's just I really wished that Tom Holland really got his movie, solely just about him, and like I wish they would have a solo movie and just kind of leave the MCU kind of like on the back burner for once. They haven't done that ever since the very first phase when we had the Iron Man 1 and 2, the Thor and the Incredible Hulk and Captain the first Captain America, and even with the second Captain America. Ever since the Avengers kind of took off and we kind of saw them where they were, every solo movie just has to involve some sort of cameo from another movie or a cameo from the Avengers or whatever, and I feel like it just takes away from the pure solo journey of this one character. It kind of feels like a distraction almost, because it's supposed to be a movie about this character, not like an ensemble. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I mean, tell me what you guys think in the comments. I could be off my rocker. I could be crazy. I'm not not excited about Spider-Man No Way Home. I can't wait to fucking see that movie. I mean, are you kidding me? Those trailers were looking awesome. And I'm trying to steer away from all of the rumors, but just let me guys know what you guys think in the comments. If I'm crazy, call me crazy. If I'm not, let me know if you guys can if you can relate to if anything if I'm saying, if I'm making any kind of sense at all. Let me know. Just let me know you guys' thoughts. Um, Speaking of concerns, how do you guys feel about that Matrix? That Matrix Resurrections? How y'all feel about that? Um, I let me tell you something. When I first heard about this thing, right, I was excited because I thought that they were going to go the route of the Animatrix, where they were going to introduce maybe a new idea or some new concept from within the Matrix, like the Animatrix tried to do. Like you guys remember that? It's like this animated version of the movie franchise where they have like different stories from different characters, and they kind of show their experiences in waking up through the Matrix, right? And I thought they were going to do something like that. But then when they had announced that Neo was coming back, I had concerns because I was like, why? I don't know. My pet peeve in a lot of movies is that when you bring characters back from the dead, it just it kills the stakes and the seriousness of of their fate for everybody, really. You know what I mean? Like if just keep them dead and just find a way to keep the story interesting. And I don't know. I just had a lot of worries with that. And so and then when Trinity was coming back, I was like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? I have no idea what's going on. Because I don't know. I'm just confused. This is the first time I'm excited and confused at the same time, because Trinity died in the real world, which means she should be dead. Like she shouldn't be nowhere near in these movies no more. Neo dying in the machine world, I guess you can kind of work with that with the computers and stuff, if you can write it well enough. But Trinity died in the real world, so I'm just kind of like, yo, why make this make sense? Right? But I don't know, man. Like, so I'll tell you what my concerns are, right? So for one, my biggest concern is that the story of this movie is not going to be as groundbreaking as the trilogy. Because at this point we all know what the Matrix is. And I think that concept of the Matrix was something beyond anything we've all ever seen. And I think it was something that we all could have related to, because I remember when I was a kid, I used to just have these sort of cerebral thoughts, just kind of like being a La La Land at 10 years old or whatever the case. And just started thinking like, what if this world was not real? And what if the real world is somewhere that my conscious is actually exist? All those things about, this world is not real. We're living in the Matrix. I think everybody at some point had thoughts like that. And then to have a movie kind of explain that and kind of show the coolness of it all and kung fu and things like that, I thought it was such ahead of its time of a film. And now in 2021, even though 2021, in my opinion, is starting to feel more and more like the Matrix, the mystery of that is gone now, because we all know what the Matrix is. It was told to us 20 years ago. We know what it is now. But so watching the film, I feel like there's no mystery for it now. There's no reason to investigate what Neo is going through. I mean, when I go to see the Matrix Resurrections, I'm gonna feel like I'm not really necessarily investigating what the Matrix is. I'm gonna investigate why the fuck he's still alive, and why Trinity is still here. Like, why are you in the Matrix? You know what I mean? I just don't want the uniqueness of the story to be tainted with this, with the stigma of sequelitis. You know what I mean? Because even though I'm excited for a new Matrix movie, the trilogy, as much flack as it gets, I thought it was fine. I thought it was perfect. And I enjoyed the trilogy still. And I just don't know what reason they would have to bring it back again. You know what I mean? Like, take for instance the CGI. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, like the visual effects of the first Matrix, like the introduction of bullet time and all that kind of stuff. Really groundbreaking stuff. Things that nobody has ever seen. Right? And it really did actually, I think it won an Oscar for that. I think it won an Oscar for visual effects. pretty much validating that this is something that is going to change the course of Hollywood forever, as far as movies go. And if you've seen movies, any other action movie, they adopt a lot of they adopt a lot of the ideas from the Matrix into a lot of these action films now. Like take Wanted, for instance, Equilibrium, and a lot of other stuff. Like there's a lot of Matrix-y tropes that are being used today and being polished over and stuff like that. But it's not new anymore. I don't know. Maybe I'm just I don't want to be too cynical about it because I am excited for it. I'm just confused about what they're doing with this. You know what I mean? Like I just don't know why we need another one. You know what I mean? I mean, like you bring Keanu Reeves back, you bring Carrie Ann Moss back, and then you recast Morpheus and everybody else. You get what I'm saying? Like I just don't know what world this is anymore. Like is Zion still Zion? Is there like a new version of that? And not to mention, Zion was the real world. You know what I mean? I need to understand what simulation that is, if that's a simulation at all. You know what I'm saying? Like it just creates a lot of questions. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. These trailers have been really dope. These trailers have been epic. Every time I see them in the theater, I'm like, I can't wait to see this. And then when I leave, I'm always like, what the fuck is this movie about? And every time I see something new about this movie, it like confuses me and excites me at the same time. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I guess I'm just sort of worried that there's not going to be anything new being brought to the table, and all it is going to do is just kind of taint on the franchise's legacy. But who knows? I could be floored. I could be surprised. I might think that this is the best, Matrix out of all of them. Who knows? I'm just curious about what what this idea could bring, especially with Lily not coming back. I think Lana is directing, and Lily's not here anymore. Or not. I mean, not here anymore, but she's not with him. With her, directing, because they both always had directed movies, and they both directed the Matrix. So for Lily to not come back, it's kind of like, oh. But who knows? I mean, if you see the documentaries, Lana was sort of like the one kind of carrying the keys anyways. So who knows? I think she might do a great job. But you guys let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Are you guys worried about the Matrix Resurrections? Are you guys excited for it? I'm curious to see what they do with this one, but just let me guys know what you think in the comments below. Be excited to talk about that. So, let's talk about these holidays, right? Since we're talking about kind of like holiday media and movies and stuff. The Santa Inc. The Santa Inc. I had the chance to. Santa Inc. is Santa Inc. is dot. I'm trying to be as polite as I can, but maybe I shouldn't be. This comedy was wow. Okay, so I'll put it like this. I know everybody is like kind of railing against Santa Inc. right now, as they should be. And I wasn't gonna watch this thing. I watched it in its damn near entirety, and I wasn't gonna watch this thing. I remember seeing a trailer when it came out, and I thought it was horrible, like abysmal, like abominable, like burn it to hell. Stupid ass trailer, and the dislike ratio. Like I don't know. I mean, when you go on YouTube and you see like the ratios and stuff like that, at the time when I saw it, it was like I think 50,000, something like that. It was rising pretty quickly. And I remember telling my friends about it, about how you're going to see that new Sending trailer. It's this new show about First Woman Santa or whatever the case. They're like, no. And I tried to show them the trailer. And when I showed them the trailer for that second time, they had turned off the comments. And those comments were brutal. Like, those comments, they were going in on the show, bro. Like, they were going in on the show, right? The comments were turned off. And that was when I discovered that they had got rid of the dislike button. Like, they had got rid of the dislike points and stuff. And that's when I first discovered that, so they really did get rid of the dislike button. But they turned off the comments too. Now, I haven't got a chance to see what the actual dislike is now. I'm pretty sure there's some people who have been showing what that is. But essentially, it's been hated this entire time since the release of that trailer and since the release of the show. But the fact that they were willing to turn off the comments and they were willing to take off the dislikes and all that kind of stuff, that was controversial to me. I didn't know if just because the internet was sort of like review bombing it just for the sake, because there is like some progressive stuff in there that can annoy people. That can annoys me sometimes. But when I saw all of that, I was like, yeah, I have to watch this show. I have to watch it. So I have to see that either people are just trolling, and maybe this show is more than what it is, and they're just kind of like baiting people to come see it. You know what I mean? Like maybe the trailer is trolling us and thinking that it's this big woke thing, and we're just kind of off our rocker. And there probably is something, important to the Christmas season or the spirit or whatever. Or maybe it just has something to say, right? So I said, I'm going to watch the show. Fuck it. I'm going to watch the show. And I watched the show. Oh my goodness. I watched the show, guys. I watched the show. 4 hours of my time. It's 8 episodes, by the way. It's 8 episodes, by the way. So, man, 4 hours of my time that I could have been planning for this show. You know what I mean? I could have been writing on my scripts. I could have been doing auditions, and instead I decided to waste it on a stop motion piece of shit. So the show's about this lady elf that is trying to like become the first woman Santa. Now at the first dime of that, I was just like, that's impossible. Because Santa is not like a role; it's who he is. That's his name. You can't be Santa. You can do his job. You can do his job, I guess, but Santa is Santa Claus, bro. You can't do that. You know what I mean? And I've been seeing that a lot lately. Like, I think what was something I saw? There was a movie that tried, like Thor. I think Thor was when like Love and Thunder. That's where they were trying to introduce a female Thor, and I was like, you can't introduce a female Thor. Thor is who he is. Thor is the god of thunder. That's his name. If you're gonna introduce somebody with like as much power, then okay, but there's only one Thor. Like there's only one God, there's only one Jesus, and all that stuff. But you know what I mean? Like you can't replace a person and everything else with them. You can only replace what you can do. But regardless, I digress. So she's trying to become the female Santa Claus. And she is essentially griping about how how sexist the workplace is in the North Pole. So let's just talk about how funny the show is. The jokes in here essentially are unfunny as fuck. Okay. Well, let me be completely transparent with you. I won't be biased about this thing because I really do hate this show. But let me just let me give it some credit. Okay. The jokes that I laughed at were, for one, offensive. You know, my sense of humor, I like offensive jokes. You know what I mean? So they were offensive jokes. And they weren't the most groundbreaking jokes. Like, these jokes weren't original at all. They were just, you know, kind of offensive jokes, like rude types of jokes, like, you know, like South Park jokes. And they weren't knee slappers. It was just more like that was the extent of my laughter. You know? And I only did that 3 times throughout this entire show. I snickered the entirety of this whole 4 hours of my time. If I was at a comedy show and I was watching this guy perform for like an hour and a half and I only snickered 3 times within the first 40 minutes, I'm leaving. That's the extent of funny the jokes were. Not to mention, the jokes were always ruined with like critique of how offensive they were. You know what I mean? So they'll have like a sexist joke of some kind, and then you'll have Candy, the character, I can't the elf, the Candy elf person. You'll have her critiquing how that's offensive, and she'll go on this little soliloquy about sexism and misogyny and all that kind of stuff, as if that's supposed to be like a punch back to the joke, like a counter to the joke. And it didn't work for me at all. Mostly because it's like, I mean, for one, it's a joke, but you would think that she would kind of like punch back with another joke. But she punches back with like a lecture, like a mini lecture about how sexism and all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of, it just makes the joke, just it makes jokes on both ends of them fall apart, because for one, that punchback is not funny. It's not funny at all. Two, as the audience member watching that and snickering at it, I felt like the character was making me feel bad for laughing at that joke. You know, and I didn't feel bad about laughing at the joke. I thought the joke was funny because it's a fucking joke. But for her to like kind of come out with some, you know, misogynistic, or, you know, women have to go, all that kind of stuff, it was just like, why do you work here then? You get what I'm saying? It was just like that throughout the entire show. Like every joke had to be followed up with how offensive the joke was with her and with her friends or whatever the case. And it was just like annoying. Got annoying as fuck. You know, and you would think that at some part, and then they have like the far extent that she would go, the character, she would go with her jokes with just like lazy ass dick jokes. You know what I'm saying? And they weren't funny, not because they were offensive. They just wasn't funny. But I felt like the show was so pretentious and just so self-indulgent with itself that they probably thought that that joke was like so funny. And I was just like, okay. Like she says, like try to guess, like she says, like everybody, all the women there make fun of your dicks. Why don't you guys try to argue which ones it is? And dudes are just looking at her like, and I'm just looking at the show like, okay. It's like these jokes were so dumb. Like when she jokes, it's so dumb. And then when somebody cracks a joke and it's actually kind of funny, she'll say that's not funny because patriarchy. I'm just like, girl, like you are so fun at parties. Um, and not to mention when they would get to the, and here's the thing, I'm not gonna get super political on this thing. And I'm not gonna say how it's so political, blah blah blah. And I'm not. But for this show alone, it's really hard to ignore that the trope that they're using as far as the wokeness goes, it's just not working in their favor, like at all. Like it's just too on the nose with a lot of these jokes, man. And just the story itself. The story itself is all the way just throughout preachy as shit. And I told you guys before, like in some of my review videos, I don't like when movies try to tell me how to think. I don't like when movies try to tell me how to talk or tell me how to treat people, things like that. Just entertain me. And the show, in a lot of ways, did a lot of that. You know what I mean? Especially with some characters were like crack a joke. You know what you guys are getting what I'm saying? Like it was just a lot of that preachiness that was happening, and it got so old and so annoying so quickly. And with all of that being said, it just dragged the story, the actual story of the show. It just dragged it to a halt. Like I was so bored watching this thing. I fell asleep twice in the 4 hours of watching this. I fell asleep twice. And then when I woke up, I didn't even bother rewinding it because I just couldn't wait for my life I couldn't wait for for this journey of me watching this 4 hour piece of shit to end. I couldn't wait for this shit to be over. But to be fair, to give it some credit, which is kind of hard to do, the animation is pretty top notch. I do like the style of animation. I think it does fit within the niche of Christmas. You know, like when you have Christmas holidays coming up, and you know you have these Christmas shows popping up and stuff in TV and things like that. I think it matches well with all of that. You know, stop motion works with this show, with a show like this. And some of the character designs were dope. You know what I mean? I do like the detail that they put into like, you know, the elf and some of the reindeer and like Santa Claus. First of all, Santa Claus, who's played by Seth Rogen, looks just like Seth Rogen. Okay, like he looks just like Seth. Like, you know, I mean, even just when you hear his voice behind him, but ultimately he's dressing up like his attire. Like he's wearing the hoodie and the jeans and the Jordans. You know what I'm saying? Like he looks like a weed smoker. You know what I'm saying? And I just like, okay, I just thought it was funny to kind of have that iteration of Santa Claus. You know, and yeah, I mean, like I said, the animation is dope. And I think the voice acting too was actually pretty solid. I think Sarah Silverman does a really good job. Seth Rogen, he does a decent job. I'm not gonna stop. He does a decent job. You know, I've heard better stuff, but I think he's cool. You know, and oh my god, gee, like let me just talk about this for a second. So the reindeer, and I don't know if anybody noticed this. Well, I don't think anybody watched the show but me, but let's just say if anybody was watching the show. The reindeer in here are literally supposed to be like the black people of the show. You know what I mean? Like because all the reindeer characters are voiced by black actors. Like you got Gabby Sidibe and Craig Robinson playing both reindeers. But reasons why I say I think they're supposed to be black people is because they're like the character I can't say the word caricatures. There we go, Patrick. Come on, man. Caricatures of black people, and look, I don't care about that kind of stuff. You know, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a comedy. Things can be forgiven. I don't really care about that kind of stuff, right? My issue though is that if this is supposed to be a movie about, or this is supposed to be a show about progressiveness and inclusion and equality and things like that, why are you mocking black people? It's just that kind of hypocrisy that, you know, I started to notice watching this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And I did think that they were the funniest characters in the show. Craig Robinson's performance is fantastic. Gabby Sidibe's character, what's her name? Goldie, I think that's the ranger's name. Goldie was like the stereotypical, you know, black woman who like curses a lot and is loud and calls you bitch, and all that kind of stuff. And It's like if you're trying to say something about inclusion as a show and you're doing shit like this, you're kind of killing your own argument there. That's all I'm gonna say. You know what I mean? And for the most part, that's all I can really say about the show. Like some of the vocal performances were good. You know, I mean, the delivery on some of the jokes were good enough to make me chuckle. You know, and the animation is pretty cool, but everything else is trash. It's such a trash movie, man. Like, look, they got like, you know, the way they have built this world of the North Pole. It's so absurd. Now, I know it's supposed to be a satire to like the corporate world and like what we see in the corporate world, misogyny and racism and sexism and all that kind of stuff. And but the thing of it is that the way they make these people, it's so contrived. Because if you work in real life, if you've been around corporate people, not everybody is that out with their rudeness. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you're gonna have some misogyny here and there, but it's not so on the nose the way the show tries to make it out to be at all. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention, man, like the character, the main character, and this is my opinion. The character, the main, what's her name? Candy, something. The elf, the woman, the main character, the elf. So unlikable. She's so unlikable. All she's doing is just complaining and complaining about patriarchy. And it's really, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, look, are you going to sit here and just try to climb this ladder of the North Pole, or are you going to keep on complaining on the way? You know what I mean? And there's other things too. Like the show tries to address Christmas like it's this all straight white male thing. And growing up in my entire life, I've never thought of it as just this straight white thing. You know what I mean? I mean, look, there's been other forms of media that try to criticize Christmas and they're cynical about, you know, Christmas, and they talk about how people, you know, it's a spending holiday, it's used for this and that and stuff like that. And I get all that kind of stuff. But ultimately what those shows tried to do was bring the spirit of it all. Because when you talk about the spirit of Christmas, fuck the gifts. Fuck going to the store, fuck the Christmas tree, all that kind of stuff. You have families coming together and just giving things and just enjoying being with each other. You know what I mean? And it's that giving nature that we all have that we can actually express to each other. That's what the spirit of Christmas is really all about. It's really all about all that kind of stuff. And when you try to reduce it to just, no, it's all about corporate interests. No, it's about just spending habits. No, it's about just, you know, white people trying to, you know, impose capitalism on the margin, all that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's just a bad take on Christmas. Just a bad take on Christmas. And this show is all just about shitting on Christmas, man. Like there's no positive, no warm, fuzzy feeling that you get in this show. It's all just, you know, them preaching about when you make the first women Santa Claus. I had a first black successor. You know, I gotta do this. You know, it's patriarchy this, misogyny this, racism this, all this kinds of stuff. And look, okay, but what about the trueness of Christmas are you going to talk about? And they don't talk about that at all. You know, the energy is just so cynical. And I think that's why I was just so bored with this stuff. Because it's like, how many times are you going to just keep on, you know, preaching to me about how fucked up our country is? Like, come on. Like, yeah, there's things about holidays that's not perfect, you know, but still, you know, like give me something to because it's still it's supposed to be like a holiday show still, you know. But by then I was just bored. I was like, you know what, I can't. I tapped out even when I was still watching the show. I just tapped out listening. I tapped out watching because it's only so much I can take, you know. And I cringe mostly when you are trying to say something that is potentially progressive and then being a hypocrite at the same time. You know, like you can't tell if you're going to be a true progressive show, you can't allow for offensive jokes to happen. You know, if you're shooting for progressiveness, like because you're a raunchy, because the show is trying to be a raunchy comedy. You know, and in my mind, raunchy means you're gonna cross lines, you're gonna say offensive jokes, you're gonna really hurt some feelings and things like that, and go for it. But then you do all that, and then at the same token, try to preach equality, and then you disparage those jokes by having a character say that's racist. You know what I mean? It's just like, dude, can we just have fun here? Can we just have some fun here? And as a black audience member watching this thing, you know what I mean? I find it very patronizing because I'm gonna be real. I know that show is probably for people like me, maybe probably for black women or something. But the show is I know because I kind of understand the formula now. I know shows like this are for people who are people of color, women, LGBT, whatever the case. You know, they're not necessarily for straight white men. If you're a straight white man watching this, you're probably I would think you probably would feel like, why are they shitting on us all the time? You know what I'm saying? And as a black man watching this, I just feel like they're condescending, my experience because, you know, working with people or being in the corporate world, all that kind of stuff. If I want to climb the ladder, I know how to do it. There's going to be some issues for sure, but I don't need everybody to remind me how shitty the world is. You know, I already have my experience to tell me that. I don't need people to actually say the world is shitty to you. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like by them sort of trying to incorporate all of these woke tropes and things like that, and then at the same time allow for offensive jokes. It's like if you were fighting for a side, you're doing a bad job of that. You know, you can entertain all you want, but just entertain. You don't need to pick a side here in the realm of entertainment because you know at this point you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. You're trying to say you're for equality, and yet you still have a knack to say some fucked up jokes. You know what I mean? You can't mesh those two. Just shoot. You know what I mean? Either just go all the way, or just go this way and do your thing. Because what this show was trying to do was not working for me at all. Like at all. I was just so bored, bro. Like, oh my god! Like, but look, these talking points that are kind of like floating around the internet. Like these internet talking points about massage and things like that. I understand it and I do get it. But 4 hours of just hearing that shit gets old really, 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 really quick. And by episode 3, I was just like, man. And it's so disappointing because this show brought a lot that I thought could be explored a lot more. Like I think the idea of a contemporary type mainstream version of a North Pole that sort of mimics the corporate world, and I've seen it done before, but I think that can be dope. I think a story like that, a story behind that can really be interesting if you do it right. And what this show really tried to do mostly is just kind of preach about corporate interests and how it's only for white men and women have it. You know what I'm saying. And then oh my god, just show the blatant, the over the top absurd versions of misogyny and things like that with the male characters. You know what I mean? I mean, clearly the show is not for kids, that too, but it's like, man, for an adult, don't make me feel stupid because I'm not stupid. I know what they're doing with this, and it's just too much of that. And I'm trying to be as unpolitical as I can, but the show is just that doesn't work. It's boring. It's too preachy. Animation is cool, but the story is not really something interesting to follow. And the character sucks. The character sucks. The main character, it sucks. Even the Santa sucks, and it's not even funny. That's the ultimate thing. And for a comedy show, it is not funny at all. This is not a review show. If I was giving it a rating, give it a 0, motherfucker. Show was stupid. But what do you guys think? What do you guys can tell me about the show? Did you guys watch the show? Did you guys like peek it out and just kind of see what it's about? What did you guys think of the trailer? Did the trailer like woo you away from it like it almost did me? Because yeah, I'm the curious person. When I see trailers kind of like causing things like dislikes being going away and comments being turned off, I'm like, you know what? I want to see what all the fuss is about. I want to see why they had to turn off the comments. But what you guys think? Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and we can talk about it. And that's what all I have for you guys today. But thanks for tuning in. This is the Actors Take podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm gonna try to do this a little more frequently. I think it's gonna help me with some of my content. I still have reviews coming up too, so look out for that. And appreciate you guys. Remember, if you like this video, hit the like button, please. And if you love this video, hit subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the flip side. Okay? Peace out.